This is RenPy, and I can also show the script for this game, but I'll show it after I've already shown the game itself. Now I guess all that's left is to launch the game. Okay. Environmental game, I added a background PNG. So you start as someone who is, I guess you're a scout here, and you start with Ranger, introducing you to a tour of the sacred, or once sacred forests of Oregon. He says, let me know if you have any questions at any part of this exhibit through the wilderness. This right here used to be known as the River of Dreams by the locals. However, with the new installment of the nearby factory, it is no longer safe to interact with and can cause serious risk to your health. So advise that you be very careful and mindful about it. Now, the big thing about RenPy is you can add these options, and these options dictate kind of how the game, well, what kind of game you play in the future. So let's say that we want to be risky and we want to take a dip in the river. Some part of you knew you shouldn't have done that, but now you must live with the consequences of your actions. You gain pneumonia. Right. And the ranger's talking to you once again. Alright, you can decide to listen to the ranger and admire from a safe distance, or go deeper in the woods and risk making the same mistake. Notice a bear sitting peacefully on the ground. It notices you. You start backing away slowly. Now you start sprinting back to the ranger. Due to your pneumonia, you experience shortness of breath and extreme fatigue. You end up tripping over a trapment for the bear and getting caught in a large net. The bear starts clawing away at you while you're helpless in the net, and you pass away. A big thing about RenPy is that ending could have been completely different if we chose, a different option at the beginning here. Let's say you heed the warning and do not interact with the river. If I go back into the woods, as you can see, the text is different, right? It's very, I don't know, it's a lot less aggressive, it's a lot less, you shouldn't do this. It's like, oh, you could do this. And it's like, okay, sure. You still notice the bear, and it still notices you, but when you're sprinting back to the ranger, you don't have pneumonia anymore, and you notice the trap along the path, so you attempt to lure the bear into it, you successfully catch the bear, and make your way back to the ranger. And now there's a whole different ending. The ranger concludes that the trip of the tour, asks to get a good rating on Yelp, and they also take tips. Now, personally, RenPy is extremely easy to use. I'll bring up the script right here. I'll show briefly a bit about how I made this game. So before the label line here, which is labeled as start, you can define variables. So I defined R to be the character ranger. What this means is whenever I put R at the beginning of a line and I add text after it, it will show the ranger speaking like this. And I guess a good alternative would be when I jumped in the river and it says this text here. This is when I just had this text here with no R. If I had an R here, the ranger would be saying this, but since there is no R, it looks like you're saying this to yourself. And you would also define variables like pneumonia and starting off as false. And since I did hit the option here, it would lead me to the jumped in the river label, very similar to that one programming language that was taught in CSC 258. I don't know why I'm forgetting the name of it, but but yes, very, very similar to that language, where if you go down here, you would actually set the variable pneumonia to true with this little keyword here to associate that it's related to a variable. And then we can jump to another label and then continue the story. And another big thing is it's very easy to actually add a background image. All you would need to do is go back to like the directory of the game in images. Obviously put the image in here, and the name of the image, let's say starting room, would also be the name of the scene that you're dealing with. So if I said that the scene was bear attack, which I would normally never do, but let's say that I was feeling like doing that, I would quit, and then I would reopen it up, and then you may notice that it would start as a bear attack in the background, which is a little weird and probably should not be there. So let's change it back to what it was before. Okay. And yes, this is the core of RenPy. Just super easy, in my opinion, to make a game in RenPy, a visual novel of sorts. And I think that for educational purposes, it may serve as a good tool, a fun tool, for students to kind of direct a story that is that inspires environmental change and awareness. And depending on, similar to Twine, depending on the type of game that the students can make, I think this is a really effective tool, actually. Because to be honest, I made this game very quickly, actually. I made this game probably in 2 hours, maybe. And it's very scalable. You know, I could easily add another scene, another side of the story that maybe the user wasn't or hadn't played before, you know. So I think this is really good. I think this is a really effective tool, and I would definitely recommend.